I'm excited to chat with you and learn more about frameworks, learn about your journey, and learn more about transcoding. So yeah, I guess first introduce yourself to the people.
Yeah, so my name is Marco. Most of the people watching this probably know me as Stonk because I've been a node operator for the past few years and I've been very active in the community. But besides that, I like to make music. I work as a software engineer at a company called DDV Tech, where I work on this server, which is a streaming media toolkit. And so, yeah, that's mostly what I do: write software and yeah, hang out, I guess, in free time, make music.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you for introducing yourself. My first question is, what inspired you and the MIST team to launch the FrameWork SPE? And what specific gap in library ecosystem are you aiming to fill?
Yeah. So the MIST server team has very long-standing ties with the Livepeer ecosystem. Maybe not as directly as we've been recently, of course, but back when I was still in university, Livepeer Inc. was already a customer of MIST server. So when I joined the team, I first learned of them, started running the nodes, of course, and we've experienced the growth of the Livepeer ecosystem together since then. And but yeah, now the network is growing and expanding in new capabilities, and so this pivot to AI is very exciting for me as a node operator as well, of course, because now I get to compete for stake and earn more fees. So that's great and all, but it leaves a little bit of a gap on the transcoding side of things, and so that's where we think we can really jump in, being a media software company, so that we can be more like a studio light and carry the torch forwards on the non-AI stuff. And which means that we will maintain the transcoding pipeline and make it easy for people to use it in a way by providing a bit of the same toolkits that Studio has, but probably not as mature. They've been working on this for years, but we can get a good CDN going, of course, with some nice integrations.
Awesome. And I guess like a personal question for me is, as FrameWorks SPE kind of gets moving, how are you seeing like support for transcoding in the community? Because I know that like a lot of people are still very interested in that aspect of Livepeer's network. And as Ink's focus has shifted more to Daydream, yeah, how are you seeing that responsibility for you guys?
Yeah, of course, you're also going to need a point of contact for the supply side because they will always run into issues. I also think it's important that we just keep developing it because there are still some gaps that can be addressed to make the transcoding offering a bit more robust. And hopefully at some point, because we now have two job types, which is transcoding and AI, hopefully we'll see more job types like storage or also being a CDN node. Delivering directly to viewers would be a really exciting use case, but that's not going to happen anytime soon, of course. But yeah. Transcoding is always going to be a very important part of any media pipeline because you basically need it to keep your costs manageable.
Right, and then for those less technical, how should we understand the value of strong transcoding pipelines for the broader Livepeer ecosystem? Because I know transcoding is one of those things that like not everybody fully knows because it's a little bit more back end in terms of like how you consume media. But yeah, please.
Yeah, people are very spoiled with modern products like Netflix and YouTube, where you just click on a button and within 2 seconds you have a video on your screen. But there is just so much that goes on behind that. First, you have to ingest your nodes, you have to process it by, for example, transcoding or live video AI. Maybe you need some storage or analytics or access control. You need to deliver it to viewers. And so, at first glance, it may sound like transcoding is just one small part of this entire package, which it is. But when it comes to the costs of the entire pipeline, it's going to be bandwidth is most of your costs. And so you kind of need transcoding because if you get, very high bitrate inputs, you need to make them all very, very small. Otherwise, you're going to be paying tens of thousands of euros just for one stream, right? So, yeah, it's about managing costs. And as I said, there's still some untapped potential, some room for new job types. Like if I have a big video on demand library and I want to transcode that, I don't really want it as quickly as possible and as cheapest as possible, which is how the network currently works. Maybe I want to wait a little bit longer or pay a little bit more to get a higher quality. So for those kinds of things, there's still lots of room to provide value and complete this feature offering.
Right, and I think something we definitely take for granted in the internet age is like instantaneous live video is actually like a pretty wild concept if you think about it. And the fact that we have been able to make that work is impressive. So kind of curious about the biggest bottlenecks in media pipelines, maybe explain to people like, why is it so expensive? I know that there's a lot of like stuff out there about, streaming companies operating at not a huge loss, but like, it being a very expensive thing to maintain.
Yeah. So it's so as I said, it's mostly bandwidth, right? Because if you have 10,000 viewers, you need already like a 20 gigabit server to maintain only those few amounts of viewers. And like if you need lots of transcoding, you can always just put a bunch of GPUs.
I'm unaware, like how much is 20 gigabit? Like, is that a lot, a little?
Yeah, so most consumers, they don't even have a 1 gigabit connection. And so if you go to a professional data center, they will be like, okay, you need 20 gigabits per server. That's going to cost you 3,000 euros per server. And so if you have 300,000 viewers, that's, 300,000 euros as well. And that's only for the bare server costs. There's a lot more overhead that goes along with that, especially because most companies also use cloud infrastructure like Google BigQuery for analytics and that kind of stuff. So you just need to manage all that bandwidth, and you can't really say, take one server and give it 200 gigabits per second. You need lots of servers for that, and they all need coordination. And so the first DCDN that actually doesn't compromise on the latency or scalability, that's going to be really disruptive. But I don't think we've seen it just yet. But I'm still waiting for it.
Okay, interesting. Okay, and when we think about Livepeer in relation to like these other competitors, how is Livepeer kind of helping with that problem space for those who are less familiar with the project?
Yeah. So of course, the transcoding bit is way cheaper than you will find it at other providers. Now, there is one issue where like centralized providers, they will have a whole complete package, and they will say like, oh, our transcoding is free, but then you're paying 10 times the costs on delivery on your bandwidth cost. So you're still paying more money. So they, but usually they bundle it up in a nice package, and I think that's where there's still a bit of a gap between Livepeer and the real world. Is that people, they don't want only transcoding; they want to make their whole video pipeline, easy and accessible. They don't want to deal with any of the codecs and ingest protocols. They just want to stream into it and get a stream out of it. And so there's still lots of steps to make there for Livepeer, but at least the transcoding part, it's quick and it's cheap. So that's a great start to build on, I guess.
Gotcha. So there's a level of like convenience that a lot of companies are willing to pay for because it's not a competitor that's more competitively priced for that convenience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very cool. A more fun question. What's fun or not about working in this industry? I mean, I know that you're definitely like very technical on that end. So I'm just super curious, like how does it feel to be a part of it?
Yeah. Well, the good part is, ironically, the customers, like as an engineer, you don't like customers because they always give you way more work than you can handle. But the same side, they usually come with the cool ideas, right? So we have one of our customers is ESL. They do live event streaming. They do the biggest Counter-Strike tournaments in the world, I think.
Wow.
So one time they took us backstage to one of their production environments, and it was insane. They had whole trucks outside which folded outwards, and they fit the whole production crew in it. So that's cool. Or a car manufacturer making autonomous vehicles, or a random guy making bird's nests with a camera in it. So you get lots of random use cases, and it's exciting to see them build something cool with it, I guess. So, but of course, as an engineer, you're mostly in an office, so you don't get lots of sunlight, and maybe skip one or two too many lunches a week. But so yeah, it's stressful, but as long as I can bear the costs mentally, I'm going to keep doing this because it's still a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that, like, at least in my perspective, video has become the most important form of online content. And, just in terms of like human communication, I think humans are much more privy to like media consumption or video consumption rather than like text consumption, right? Because if you think about the world isn't textual, right? You see with your eyes, and like, maybe if you're blind, it's more textual, but for most people who are sighted, like, we show up in the world that way. And that's why I think like TikTok and these other platforms have been so successful, YouTube as well. So yeah, any thoughts, any more thoughts on the industry as a whole?
Well, yeah, it's going to be very tricky to compete with the likes of TikTok or YouTube, because not only do they have quick loading videos, they also have the filters and stuff. Like, good luck replicating all of that, but hopefully we'll get there someday. Maybe Streamplace's bet is going to be a good first step to bring decentralized video into the spotlight, and from there, hopefully, it's just the ball gets rolling. But we'll see. You already see, for example, also like storage. They are like a crypto storage provider, but they are also in the Web2 scene. So it's already, making its way through the cracks where people that hate crypto are still using it. Maybe they're not aware about it, but it's already making its way into a mainstream market.
Yeah, 100%. I think that people have a certain perception of crypto or Web3, but that's why I use the word Web3 infrastructure, right? I think that there's a layer of this more kind of like hype and like kind of speculative narrative, but fundamentally it is a technology that is driving value and is giving something to a lot of people. And I think that is what people don't see as much, because it's like the projects really working on this are often more technical, right? Are often less in the public view, and the things that get the hottest stories are the things that are scams or whatnot. So we're definitely fighting a narrative uphill battle, but I think I'm grateful to be at Livepeer, because I think we're one of the few projects that's like really pushing hard on how are we delivering value with decentralized technology, and have a really strong use case and fees on network. Not many Web3 companies can say the same.
Yeah, I think it's one way it's admirable that we never fell into the trap of like really shilling the project and going hard on the LPT price everywhere. Of course, I would love for LPT to reach $100, make a lot of money, of course, but it's the heavy focus on development and just trying to ship stuff and bringing real value. That's an admirable trait of the existing Livepeer leadership, which you see from Doug and Eric.
And just for folks who are watching, part of the reason I wanted to start Fireside is I want to showcase all the amazing people that are working on this, like Marco. And for folks who are interested in, I know we mentioned Streamplace. We did an AMA with Eli a few weeks back, so you can always jump onto the YouTube and watch the one from a few weeks ago where he was kind of talking about Streamplace and like what that looks like. Okay, we're running up on the end, so I have one more question. We'll have two more questions, but the first one more substantial. How do you scale up to supporting hundreds of thousands of viewers and in the context of Livepeer? So how do we get to that level through this more decentralized vision of transcoding?
Yeah. So it's two parts, right? First of all, you need the pipeline behind it. So it's actually supporting that many viewers. You probably don't need that many GPUs even, because you take one stream of the ingest nodes, you transcode it on the Livepeer network, for example, and then you can just replicate that stream to hundreds or thousands of delivery nodes. And so that's the biggest part of it. Technically, you need 1,000 servers, and they all need to be coordinated. Like, where is which stream on which server, and how can they reach it? How can they make a clip out of it using the API? And you need to track statistics, viewer counts, that kind of stuff. So, but that's even comparably the easy part, because once you have the pipeline, you still need to actually reach all of those viewers. And
Right.
So it's a big part of it's just marketing and making your platform appealing to people. And for example, StreamEth is really cool. They have I tried their platform once. They have some nice integrations. I think they had some AI stuff in there already as well. So it's about just making it really accessible for the user. They can't have any friction compared to their existing offerings, which are YouTube and Twitch and Prime Video and that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, I've been calling it the productization of Livepeer's network. Right, we're trying to get these products that can are of course connected to Livepeer, but have this this broader appeal. My perspective has always been, if we think of the Web3 market, how many people are in the Web3 market fully? How do we get that broader consumer appeal? And I think Daydream, that's why it's super compelling. Daydream is this more Web2 experience that you don't have to know that it's running on Livepeer. And I think that a lot of the way the industry is going to move to is this back-end technology that you don't really have to engage directly with, but can if you desire, if you want to be a part of the community of securing the network, right? And I don't think everyone has to like know about that or love that or care about that for it to still happen and be valuable.
Yeah, but the good thing about Daydream as well is that even if you don't appreciate the current offering, which I can understand because it's a bit gimmicky, of course they can still fix most of the complaints in terms of flickering and stuff. That's temporal consistency, but the steps that come after this are even more exciting because then you have a generic AI pipeline. The AI team is working on those bring your own containers, which we can also use, by the way, for FrameWorks because we also want to offer Livepeer AI jobs, live AI stuff, but not the kind that Studio offers, of course. They're already way ahead of us there. So yeah, but I'm really excited about all of these other live video pipelines, like detecting, classification, also stuff like speech to text, or maybe even text to speech. Yeah, lots of opportunities still to explore.
Okay, amazing. Well, last question is, how can people find you if they have questions, if they want to connect? Yeah, what are the places to do that?
Yeah, well, the best place is Discord because I'm basically always online. If not online, I have my phone on me and it will ring if someone messages me. But I also I have a website, stonk.tech, where there's a contact form, or you can reach me on Telegram. I'll even have a business WhatsApp number somewhere on there. So don't call me, but it's yeah. Or at the Mist server website, of course, we also have a Mist server inbox and a phone number and stuff. So, but best place is Discord.
Well, Marco, thank you for all the hard labor for the network and everything you're doing on the transcoding side. Super important. Like I said, it's the foundation of where Livepeer started, and I think it will continue to be very valuable in terms of like developing it further. So thank you for taking that piece and running with it. So have a good rest of your day.
Thank you for having me, and I'll enjoy the rest of the show in the audience.